Did you know? Around 27,000 trees are cut down each day. Rainforests are being cut down at the rate of 100 acres per minute. Human activity in the last 500 years has brought extinction upon more than 800 species. The IUCN Red List has recorded 41,415 endangered species of both animals and plants. 16,306 of the listed endangered species are under the threat of extinction. There are already 785 total extinct species. 65 of these species can now be only found in captivity or in cultivation. Today, me along with my teammates Shalini, Vineet and Tanvi would be talking about the topic environmental protection laws. Here, we will discuss the need for the protection of our environment, the laws that are in action, and the solution to these environmental problems.
The environment. The environment is where we all meet, where we all have a mutual interest. It is the one thing all of us share. Robert Redford once stated that, "I think the environment should be put in the category of our national security. Defense of our resources is just as important as the defense abroad. Otherwise, what is there to defend?" The environment refers to all living and non-living things that make up our surroundings. Many environmental problems result due to unplanned management, human activities, and technological development that interfere with the environment. Protection of the environment refers to the conservation and preservation of the environment by reducing pollution, soil erosion, global warming, deforestation, etc. The main environmental concerns hence are climate change, water scarcity, pollution, loss of biodiversity, and many more. Environmental degradation and depletion of resources will result in the spread of pests and vector diseases, extinction of species, natural disasters like floods, acid rain, melting of glaciers, etc. Life on this earth cannot exist unless we restore environmental balance. We humans play a very important role in destroying the environment. The tons of plastic that we use, the liters and liters of water that we waste every single day, and the amount of trees that we cut to make this earth a concrete jungle. All these changes leads to a lot of environmental problems such as global warming, climatic change, acid rains, etc. Environmental law describes a network of regulations and customary laws that address the effects of human activity on the natural environment. These laws are also referred to as environmental and natural resource laws and the center on the idea of environmental pollution. In addition to this issue, environmental law works to manage specific natural resources and environmental impact assessment. There are few areas that environmental law works to regulate in order to lessen the impact on the environment. Some of these areas include air quality, water quality, waste management, contaminant cleanup, chemical safety, resource sustainability, etc. Now the question is, why is environmental law so important? As we can see from the list above, environmental laws play a huge role in protecting humans, animals, resources, and habitats. Without these laws, there would be no regulations concerning pollution, contamination, hunting, or even response to disasters. Environmental law works to protect land, air, water, and soil. Negligence of these laws result in various punishment like fines, community service, and in some extreme cases, jail also. Without these environmental laws, the government would not be able to punish those who treat the environment poorly.
Hello everyone, I am Shalini Agrawal. The various laws that come for the environment protection are: the first is the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. This act provides for the protection of wild animals, birds and plants and for matters connected therewith or ancillary or incidental thereto. It extends to the whole of India. The second act is of the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974. Its objective is to provide prevention and control of water pollution, maintaining or restoring of the wholesomeness and purity of water in the various sources of water. The third one is the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981. The act targets to control and prevent air pollution in India, and its main objectives are to provide for prevention, control and abatement of air pollution, to provide for the establishment of the boards at the central and state levels to implement the act. The fourth one is the Environment Protection Act 1986. This act was passed under Article 253, legislation for giving effect to international agreements. This was passed in the wake of the Bhopal gas tragedy in December 1984. It was enacted to achieve the UN Conference on the Human Environment 1972. The next act is the Energy Conservation Act 2001. It was enacted as a step towards improving energy efficiency and reducing wastage. It specifies the energy consumption standards for the environment and appliances. It prescribes energy consumption norms and standards for consumers. It prescribes energy conservation building codes for commercial buildings too. The next act is the Biological Diversity Act 2002. It was implemented to give effect to CPT Nagoya Protocol. Now let's look at a case study of the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. The Wildlife Protection Act 1972 is an act of the Parliament of India enacted for protection of plants and animal species. This act is put in place so as to protect and ensure the environmental and ecological security of all plant and animal species. The act was last amended in the year 2006. An amendment bill was introduced in the Rajya Sabha in 2013 and referred to a standing committee, but it was withdrawn in 2015. History of wildlife protection legislations in India are: the first such law was passed by the British Indian government in 1887 called the Wild Birds Protection Act. The law sought to prohibit the possession and sale of specified wild birds that were either killed or captured during a breeding season. A second law was enacted in 1912 called the Wild Birds and Animals Protection Act. This was amended in 1935 when the Wild Birds and Animals Protection Amendment Act was passed.
Now, let us look at the need for Wildlife Protection Act. Some of the salient features of Wildlife Protection Act are:
Passed this law in 1972. Now, it is a concurrent list. Reasons for a nationwide law in domain of environment, particularly wildlife, include that India is a treasure trove of varied flora and fauna. Many species are seeing a rapid decline in numbers. For instance, it was mentioned by Edward Pitchford Gee, a naturalist, that at the turn of the 20th century, India was home to close to 40,000 tigers. But a census in 1972 showed this number drastically reduced to about 1827. A drastic decrease in the flora and fauna can cause the ecological imbalance, which affects many aspects of climate and the ecosystem. The most recent act passed during the British era in this regard was the Wild Birds and Animals Protection 1935. This needed to be upgraded as the punishments awarded to poachers and traders of wildlife products were disproportionate to the huge financial benefits that occur to them.
Now let us look at some salient features of the Wildlife Protection Act. The salient features of the Wildlife Protection Act are: this act provides for the protection of a listed species of animals, birds, and plants, and also the establishment of a network of ecologically important protected areas in the country. The Act provides for the formation of wildlife advisory boards, wildlife wardens, specifies their powers and duties, and etc. It helped India become a party to the Convention on the International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Flora and Fauna. CIT, which is also known as CITES. CITES CITES is a multilateral treaty with the objective of protecting endangered animals and plants. It is also known as the Washington Convention and was adopted as a result of a meeting of IUCN members. For the first time, a comprehensive list of endangered wildlife of the country was prepared. The act prohibited the hunting of endangered species. Scheduled animals are prohibited from being traded as per the Act's provisions. It provides for the establishment of wildlife sanctuaries, national parks, etc.
Protected areas under the Wildlife Protection Act. There are five types of protected areas as provided under the Act. They are described below. Number 1. Sanctuaries. Sanctuary is a place of refuge where the injured, abandoned, and abused wildlife is allowed to live in peace in their natural environment without any human intervention. They are naturally occurring areas where endangered species are protected from poaching, hunting, and predation. Here, animals are not bred for commercial exploitation. The species are protected from any sort of disturbance. Animals are not allowed to be captured or killed inside the sanctuaries. Number 2. National parks. National parks are the areas that are set by the government to conserve the natural environment. A national park has more restrictions as compared to a wildlife sanctuary. National parks can be declared by the state government of notification. No alteration of the boundaries of a national park shall be made except on a resolution passed by the state legislature. Here, no human activity is allowed. Grazing of livestock and private tenurial rights are not permitted here. No person shall destroy, remove, or exploit any wildlife from a national park. Number 3. Conservation reserves. The state government may declare an area, particularly those adjacent to the sanctuaries or parks, as conservation reserves after consulting with the local communities present. Number 4. Community reserves. The state government may declare any private or community land as a community reserve after consultation with the local community or an individual who has volunteered to conserve the wildlife. Number 5. Tiger reserves. These areas are reserved for the protection and conservation of tigers in India. They are declared on the recommendations of the National Tiger Conservation Authority. The amended Wildlife Act doesn't allow any commercial exploitation of forest produce in both wildlife sanctuaries and national parks, and local communities are allowed to collect forest produce only for their bona fide requirements.
To conclude, humans are the most important, intelligent, and important life forms on Earth. To develop their race, they fail to realize the Mother Nature is being hurt. They are hurting the animals and plants which have been developed since millions of years on this planet. Only by spreading awareness we can protect the environment, and this can be done in many solutions. The few of them we have stated here. They are: strict enforcement of laws can be done. There should be heavy fine or imprisonment in any specific cases. And moreover, we should give importance to reforestation of the already deforested forests. Thank you.